turning our attention to the big news from Los Angeles and a guy that knows all the ins and outs of this big story today, Kevin Baxter of the LA Times. Kevin, welcome again, my friend.
Yeah, I just want to know, are you on artificial turf or are you on natural grass right now?
I love you, Kevin. I mean, the turf gate, as it's called up here, is nonstop. It's still been going on, and to me, I think it'll never finish until the games start here in the Women's World Cup. But that's a story for another day, Kevin. Let's talk about the story today with Los Angeles getting another club in the area. Henry Wynn, one of the owners, Mr. Tan, I believe, he's another owner, and there's a bunch of owners. How come so many investors, Kevin, with this squad?
Well, there are 22 owners, and I think they picked that number because they can then divide and have play a game against one another. And I want to be on the team that picks me a ham. You know, this ownership group quietly, they didn't brag about it at all today at the press conference, which was unusual given the fact that this team is replacing Chivas USA, which was marketed to one segment of the community and failed miserably. This is the most diverse ownership group in MLS and maybe in all of North American professional sports. You know, there's tons of Asian Americans, there's Mexican American, there's African Americans, there's women. It's a huge diverse ownership group. And, you know, I really don't want to drink too much of Commissioner Garber's Kool-Aid on this whole thing, but because, you know, you've heard this over and over again. Soccer is a global sport. It's going to be big. You know, people are going to go to the games. And, you know, that just hasn't really come to pass. But that's what the people were saying today, that, hey, this is a chance to get in on the ground floor of something that we think is really going to be big. And it's the global sport, and it's going to take off in L.A., and everybody wanted to be a part of it. And they had the ceremony to, I guess you call it a ceremony. Usually it's a press conference, but given the ownership group, it was a ceremony. It was at a motion picture studio on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. So the ownership group walked the red carpet afterward. And we're talking about, you know, again, Magic Johnson, Nomar Garcia-Parra, Mia Hamm, Tony Robbins, the self-help guru, you know, Vincent Tan, a couple of co-owners of AC Roma, Henry Wynn, who you mentioned, he's a venture capitalist. He's the main guy. He's a venture capitalist that is famous for bringing McDonald's to Vietnam. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And then the guy who did a lot of the talking today, Peter Guber, who is the CEO of Mandalay Entertainment. They make motion pictures. They own a lot of minor league baseball clubs, and Peter is also co-owner of the Dodgers and the Golden State Warriors. So you have a very diverse group ethnically, in gender terms, and then it's a very wide group in terms of Major League Sports ownership.
Kevin, let's be honest. Unless this group caters to a specific community in LA, whether it's the Asian, the African, the Mexican community, whether they decide to go after a big DP like a Beckham when he went to Galaxy, a Keane, a Donovan, I think this is going to be, again, a big disaster for MLS. I could be wrong, but I think they need to make a big splash to get people out. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I totally. I think I almost look at this as, you know, having lived in Miami for 7 years and seeing what David Beckham's doing here, I think the model is somewhat similar, and I say that because, I mean, Miami and LA are both celebrity-driven environments. It's not Kansas City. You get a big star to come out to your event, the public will follow, and I think this team is uniquely positioned to do that. You know, with the entertainment industry star power they have here, they are going to be on TV. They are going to be on radio. They have a lot of that stuff going for them. And the good thing about Peter Guber and some of the others involved in it is these guys are not like Michael Eisner and Disney when they had the Ducks NHL team and the Angels, and they got tired of them after a couple of seasons when they found out that you really did have to work at this stuff. I think these guys are committed to the long haul. I think you're right. I mean, I think there's a chance for a big downside, but you know, at the same token, the other thing that I kind of worry about, and I talked to the commissioner about it, is, you know, with MLS's structure and the salary cap and all those things, these are really, really wealthy people who are used to going out and buying what they want. You know, when Mandalay wanted to do Batman and they wanted Michael Keaton, I think it was the Batman they had, they went out and got him, and money was not an object, and they got what they wanted, and they wanted to build the Batmobile bigger and faster than any other Batmobile ever. They did that. That's not going to happen in MLS. You can't right now go out and buy the world's biggest soccer player unless somehow you get the league to agree to bend the rules, as the Galaxy did with Beckham. And I do think that could potentially be a problem down the road. if this team gets off and it struggles, and there's somebody like, recently we saw Kaká was available and the Galaxy could get him. If there's somebody available and they want to go out and get him and the league prevents them because of the salary rules, I think that could be a problem. This looks like a group that wants to go out and be the New York Yankees or the Dodgers and spend a ton of money and get all the best players. And you really can't do that in MLS.
And then my concern would be to the LA Galaxy and their franchise and their support, because I got to be honest, Kevin, this franchise, this club, the LA Galaxy, have put a first-class product on the field year in and year out. And you know this better than I. I don't think they've sold out each and every home game straight the last few years. And here up in Toronto, all of us up here still shake our head and wonder why there's still a wait list for the season ticket holders. They've never seen a playoff game. And the Galaxy have wonderful, entertaining football to watch, and they can't sell it out. Explain that to me.
Well, you're right. The Galaxy can't sell out. In fact, they announced reduced ticket packages for next season in a way to sort of goose attendance. I think they may be helped slightly, and I mean really slightly, by the Chivas demise, and the reason I say that is Chivas, as you know, drew nobody. They set a record for lowest attendance in MLS. In fact, I think the new team's ownership group may be bigger than Chivas' season ticket base. But the reason I think the Galaxy may get a little bit of a lift from that is football. Football soccer now is going to be half as many games as in LA. And if you want to go out and see the Sounders or Houston or the Red Bull, you're going to have to go out and see them play the Galaxy. And I think that will help the Galaxy. But there's a lot of problems here. The StubHub Center is kind of isolated. You can't get to it with public transportation. It's a haul from a lot of the population centers around here. So it takes some planning to get to it. It's not like if you've gone to a game in Seattle, take public transportation downtown, walk to the stadium with 60,000 fans. It's great. And by the way, bringing up Seattle, the league is ballyhooing the fact that it set an attendance record this year. But look at how many times Seattle grew football numbers, American football numbers. So it's really one team that is doing great, and there are others that are struggling. I wouldn't say the Galaxy's struggling, but the team that wins that often and has that many stars and has the greatest player in U.S. history who's retiring this year, you would have thought that they would have done better. I think the biggest problem for this new team, and it's one that they're taking very seriously, is where do they put the stadium? And when they make that decision, it's going to affect everything else. It's going to affect the fan base. It's going to affect the sort of the demographics that team draws, the flavor of the club. If it's an inner city club, it's going to have sort of one sort of reputation and flavor. If it's a suburban club, like in the West Side, it's going to have a different flavor. So that is going to be something that's really going to go a long way in determining the team's future, and obviously it's ticket sales.
Let me ask you this before we let you go, Kevin. We really appreciate your time. To me, I don't understand why Don Garber is so stubborn, so thick-headed not to go to Sacramento. Preki and the boys and the management and the ownership group there have done a fantastic job. Why not go to Las Vegas? There's another market. Why not go to San Diego? To me, a slam dunk is Sacramento. They've proven it. Why not go there and give them an opportunity instead of trying to put another one in the LA area?
Well, and there's other markets you didn't mention. Some of the markets you did mention, I can find faults with them, and without having studied it, just feeling like San Diego would be a good market, but then a lot of the soccer fans go across the border now to see Xolos, and I wonder if that would be a problem. Sacramento was kind of close to San Jose. You're right that they've done a great job of selling out there. With a minor league club, could they do the same with MLS, which has different needs and different demands? But what about markets like Minneapolis or St. Louis, which are somewhat isolated and have great soccer followings? Those would be good places to go too. And you're right, the commissioner does seem very stubborn about this. He's committed 2 teams to the LA market. He thinks that's going to work. I think they have to be geographically apart, which means this club is going to have to go away from downtown. Maybe one of the things that came out today is some of the owners have been talking to Don Garber about getting involved with MLS for as long as 2 years. And so I'm guessing that this ownership group came together in some way or form before Chivas' demise. Maybe as much as a year and a half ago, these people were talking. And since there is so much Hollywood star power, maybe that made the Sacramento thing a no-go. Maybe they just said, look, we want this team in our backyard. We want to take our movie clients out to the soccer game and sit in the owner's box, and that's what we really want to do, and we'll pay you a lot of money if you allow us to do that. That could have had something to do with it. By the way, these guys broke the MLS expansion record. They paid a little over $100 million for the team, breaking the record that New York paid. Last thing about all the money, when you look at New York City's ownership, really well heeled, used to getting what they want. This club here, a lot of Hollywood people used to getting what they want. MLS could be going through some changes in the coming years, because I just can't imagine both of those franchises sitting back and saying, well, golly gee, I have enough money to afford this player, but you guys won't let me buy him, so I guess we'll just finish 7th again. At some point, I think the gloves are going to have to come off, and we're going to see some big names coming into MLS, which will be great, but then the teams that can't afford to do that, we're going to lose a lot of the parity that I think we've enjoyed lately.
Kevin, as I let you go very quickly, just give me your thoughts as a guy from Los Angeles that followed in the offseason what Toronto FC did with Defoe, Bradley, Gilberto, Julio Cesar, and once again, not making the playoffs. I was at the season-ending press conference yesterday. I got to tell you, I've been to each and every one of them. Yesterday with GM Tim Bazbachenko, I have never seen about 3 or 4 guys from the media go at him hard about a few things. But a guy like yourself, looking from the outside and seeing everything that was done in the offseason, do you look at this and you shake your head and say, wow, why can't Toronto get this right?
Yeah, I do, and say, is everybody on the same page there? I mean, Tim Iwicki went in there, made a big splash, a lot of big hirings. It looked a lot like LA Galaxy East. It looked like he was going to do a lot of things. He didn't survive to the end of the season. His plan, I guess it shows that he was the only one that really bought onto that plan, because it seemed like it didn't continue once he left. I know he manages by force of personality, but you would have thought if people bought into it, they would have tried to continue that blueprint. And my guess is, talking about what we just talked about with New York and LA trying to win by spending, my guess is the league's going to turn around and say, look what happened in Toronto. It didn't really work. You guys got to build from the bottom up, not just bring in a bunch of stars and roll out the ball and hope they win.